and welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to something a little bit special. We don't do it too often, but we do have redemption points in the chat, and you can redeem for your replays to be casted. Typically, I try to cast these with a co-caster like Yaku or Kuro or Asher. But our schedule's really packed tight. We have a lot of casting to do throughout the entire week, and they aren't available at the moment, so I'm gonna do my best. Here to cover them myself instead. And we do have two replays for you. Two replays. I did see that Soundo did redeem a replay cast in the chat. I didn't know Este Soundo. Este Soundo. But I'm gonna limit it to only these two for now. I'll definitely chase down Soundo for his replay to be casted a little bit later on in a couple of days. Just because I'm a little bit strapped for time. I do want to sleep at least a couple of hours before the next cast. I want to make sure I'm well rested for Masters Coliseum, so that is my goal at least. But yeah, for now, we do have our first replay, and that is going to be from lovely viewer in the chat, Frost. And it's been really cool to see Frost improve over the year. Frost, she's been a very big supporter of the Cranky Ducklings. She's actually a patron as well, so no bias. Clearly no bias for our Patreon and subscriber, that is Frost. And yeah, you know, I do still remember back when she was, you know, Diamond a year ago. Nowadays, Masters 1, so a pretty big jump in a relatively short period of time. It's been really cool to see that improvement. And we'll see what we have in store for us here. So typically when we get a replay to be casted, it's for a reason, and it's usually because it's a bit of a clown fiesta. It's for better or for worse, as we're getting ready for the replay. I think it's an older replay, I guess, because we do have to download an older version of the game. But usually, you know, the last time we casted a Frost replay, she was up against someone who went mass Hydra. It was a late game ZVT on Gressfan. It was like a 30-minute game where the Zerg player just kept making Hydras. Just like pure Hydra, eventually into Ultras. And as you can imagine, it did not go well for the Zerg. Against like a bio-tank composition with Ghosts, it was painful. It was so painful to see the Zerg player just ram their head against the wall with pure Hydra into pure Ultra, back and forth. It hurt the soul a little bit, Bobby. It hurt the soul. Not like this, but we'll see what happens this time. We'll see what happens as we are loading into a TvT, and in the top right hand corner we have our lovely viewer in the chat. It is going to be the American Terran player Frost. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have a challenger. We have a challenger on the ladder. This is a ladder game, by the way. The blue Terran. It is CarpalTunnel. Feels bad, man. And I guess this is as good a time as any to let everyone know in the chat. Don't forget to stretch. Posture check in the chat. Posture check. No slouching. No slouching. Make sure you stretch, make sure you drink plenty of water, hydrate your hydras, all that good stuff. Take care of yourself. Take care. I know that like StarCraft can be a really addicting game to play, like it's a really fun and competitive game to play, but take plenty of breaks, you know, look after yourself, look after your wrists, and your posture. I know that like there are times where in a really long ladder session I can get really intense, and like I can maybe put too much pressure on my wrists, and I can get like some pains later on as well. Just, you know, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. As yeah, you know, wrist pains are, I don't want to say they're a common thing, but they are an occurrence that do happen with some StarCraft pros and even amateurs alike. I'm always brought back to Alex. I used to cast alongside a New Zealand co-caster, Alex, back in the day, a couple of years ago, and she also suffered, I don't think it was from carpal tunnel, but from wrist pains, and she used to be really, you know, dedicated to StarCraft and play a lot of it, but wrist pains did become a little bit too much, and she did end up stepping away from StarCraft for her and health, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So look after yourselves. Look after yourselves. As for now, we do have a double gas opener from both players here so far. Pretty similar builds between our Terrans. For us, just going to be scouting around looking for any kind of weird proxies. Going to be expanding on location. CarpalTunnel is going to be delaying that expansion a little bit longer here, going for a 1-base 1-1-1. This is almost the beginnings of a 1-base all-in. A very delayed expansion here from our blue Terran. Uh-oh. And Frost hasn't been able to see too much. Is staying at home. We do see the first Reaper of CarpalTunnel scouting across the map. And this is illegal, Poppy. Oh my god. One shot away from going down. And is it going to be able to barely escape? This is the reason why it's very risky in TvT to scout with your first Reaper, because you don't know if your opponent went for a double Reaper opener, went for like a faster reactor, or a 2-Rax opener, so it can be really risky. Losing a Reaper in the early game can be devastating because things can snowball out of control. And here we go, Frost is pushing up this ramp and is going to trade a Reaper for a Reaper. No, never mind. CarpalTunnel does take the better trade. And what did Frost see? Frost saw a factory, a lack of CC on the low ground, but it could still be a CC on the high ground that is waiting to be floated down. So incomplete information here from our red Terran, as we are getting into our own 1-1-1. Now, with these SCVs, it looks like CarpalTunnel is eventually going to expand. But we'll see, as we are working on a Liberator, an abundance of Reapers and Hellions for now as well. We are continuing Reaper production, by the way. And there is finally the CC on the low ground, but this is a very delayed base. As a result, CarpalTunnel is going to be falling behind in the economy and in the worker count. There is a lot of pressure on the blue Terran to get economic damage done. This is looking like the coffee build, the Chinese opener. Very old school. Shout out to Yaku. Yaku used to do this all the time. When you make a massive wave of Reapers, Hellions, you go in with Liberator into the main base to harass. Cyclone is in position. We do get the lock on. But at the same time, here comes CarpalTunnel. We do have a landed Viking, though. Does provide quite an anchor point here for the army of Frost. Oh, but the Marines are being cleaned up. The Viking as well. Good target firing on that weakened Hellion, and CarpalTunnel will barely break through and is getting to the mineral line. One SCV will go down. Cyclone comes out just in time. Does get a mule. But as the Cyclone is pulled over towards the natural, we do see that Liberator wreaking havoc in the main. 3 SCV kills already on that one Lib. Eventually this will be cleaned up, but damage has been done. Oof, a lot of damage actually. This Hellion still uncontested. Another SCV falls. And in the end, 7 SCVs went down in total. Not just 7 SCVs, but I believe 2 mules as well. And lost mining time in the main base. So CarpalTunnel has done enough here to justify the delayed natural. I'm sure CarpalTunnel wanted more damage and wanted to, you know, get a stronger lead. What I will say is that at the moment, the worker counts are pretty even. The orbital still isn't done yet. So Frost still has, I would say, a slight economic advantage. Not just because of these mules, but also because Frost has been mining more for longer as well. But CarpalTunnel is not taking this lying down. He's going to be moving out with his army to have a tank, Cyclone, and a Raven. Pretty similar armies, to be honest. Pretty similar compositions. It's going to come down to the engagement. You do have to be careful. Oh, pull me out. Oh, does Asher want to come in? Ah! As you do see, auto turrets are thrown down. And Frost is going to be able to clean this up. I didn't see, Asher. I didn't see. I mean, it's a bit too late to jump on now, but... Ay. Next time, Bobby. Next time. Oh. As here we go. Frost was able to just completely shut down that force. Is going out for a counterattack. Do see CarpalTunnel's working on a 3rd CC. Frost is one step ahead in that respect. 3rd CC is almost done at this point. But Frost does have to be careful. Doesn't have the air control. Doesn't have the air superiority. The Vikings are, of course, king. And Frost is going to have to respect that. As things are going to be settling down. After a pretty intense and chaotic start to the game, both players are going to be looking to slowly expand and take their thirds. Likewise, we have more of these Raxes in production as well. Yeah, we don't have WSS Game Heart, it's a ladder game, so I have to look for the scans. But Ross does confirm the army, the Ravens, the Vikings. Is going to rotate around. I do appreciate this. Oh, this spotted Marine is barely going to miss the army of Frost. And again, the goal here for Frost is going to be to knock down these rocks, get in position, and delay the third base while Frost does expand and take the third for herself. Here we go. Once again, constantly scanning, constantly keeping tabs on that army. You can see Frost still does not have the Viking lead. Gets a good volley off on the Ravens. But does have to take it slow. Does have to take a more methodical approach. Here we go. We do see the Ravens dive on forward. It looks like Frost will be losing one immediately. Two even. Oh my god, the move command. Oof. A rough move command from Frost is going to lose everything. The Vikings, the Ravens as well. Meanwhile, CarpalTunnel keeps both Ravens alive. And with that, Frost has to give up on that position. Is going bio tank, of course, but yeah, having the Viking and Raven count reset is rough. Now, at least Frost has been saturated the third and is already working on a fourth. Still has an economic lead, but has catching up to do when it comes to the overall Viking count. And actually, interesting, Frost is actually not opting to rebuild those Vikings. It's going for medevacs instead. So Frost is going to be going for some more drop-heavy styles, or drop-heavy play, sorry. Meanwhile, CarpalTunnel is doubling down, and now that he knows that he has the Viking advantage, now that he knows that he has the air superiority, he's going into Liberators. Which I think is honestly a really wise choice here. The scan does confirm that as well. Frost is now aware that Liberators are in the mix, and that is going to make things a lot more complicated when it comes to these tank wars, these tank battles. No one coffee builds as good as me. Este Asher. Ay. They're all coffee builds. They're all coffee builds. Reapers and Hellions, coffee builds. So fourth base is getting up and running. 2-2 on the horizon as well. Again, after losing all those Vikings, Frost does have to kind of respect that and back off and be the defender here. This CarpalTunnel is going to be rotating over towards the new fresh fourth base of Frost. Getting his own fourth behind this far later, but now he's in position. Tanks are sieging on up. Liberators are arriving as well. A little bit too far forward, though. The Marines are going to be able to deal with them. Libs do go down. Likewise, big tank volleys off on the army of CarpalTunnel. Up the base. CC will be going down. Again, because of all this air control, we can throw down auto turrets and abuse that. CarpalTunnel is going to back off. Again, losing a couple too many tanks in that fight. Frost did have the better position. Frost is going to have a bit of momentum as well. Again, was able to reset the Liberator counts. Can't really contest against the Vikings too much, but I mean, we're done with Vikings at this point. Frost, I mean. Oh no, but we're going back in. Never mind. We do head on over towards the fourth base of CarpalTunnel. Carpal able to keep up. Able to rotate on over. Second starport on the way. Let's go. For all the Vikings, all the Liberators. It's an interesting dynamic, but in TvT, you know, sure, tanks are a pretty like pivotal units for both teams, for both players. But then suddenly everything becomes about the air, about Vikings and Liberators, eventually BCs when we go to the super late game. Speaking of, Fusion Core is on the way. Not for BCs, it should be for Liberator range. But nonetheless, just capitalizing on that air control. And Scan's just getting a read on things. Big anti-armor missile on the Army of Frost. Frost has to back off once again. See a double drop moving out towards the left-hand side. Quickly checking the vision, because we've been seeing a lot of scans. CarpalTunnel hasn't seen the fresh 4th base location. He's going to be dropping over where it once was. So Carpal is going to be rotating over and, yeah, looking to lay siege upon that CC. Who's going to get there first? It looks like Frost does read the movement and should be able to siege up. Up. Oof. Carpal is the first to siege. Big tank volleys going up on the Marines, but there are so many Marines on the ground. I just realized CarpalTunnel has been neglecting their Marine production. And down go the tanks, down go the Vikings, where the Marines are across the map instead. They're going for a drop into the natural. They're getting some workers, they're going for the base, but we have plenty of reinforcements back at home. We have a tank on the high ground, and Frost cleans this up. Cleans up the drop, cleans up the army. Again, CarpalTunnel being a little bit too cavalier with their movements, with their engagements. Just not having enough to support and protect their tanks and Vikings. And now suddenly Frost has a lot of momentum. Frost up in tanks, up in Marines. The one advantage that CarpalTunnel had was the air control with Vikings and Liberators, and that's gone at this point. That's been reset. Boy, we have 2 more Liberators in production, but Frost is heading out across the map, takes down the tower. Oof. Big tank volleys go off once again, annihilating the Marines. And Frost is getting out of control. Gonna be collapsing on this CC. Up, up. Doesn't quite get the orbital. Is gonna be saved. Quick unsiege as well, going to be avoiding that Liberator. You love to see it. And throughout all of this, Frost has been able to get not just their 4th up and running, but a 5th on location as well. Frost on 82 workers, 3-3 on the way, 15 Marines at a time, is not slowing down. And CarpalTunnel is being spread thin. Got tanks here on the right, tanks towards the left. It may just be caught unsieged. We have the stim. Up. Frost dives on this army, is a little bit late to siege, but does have quite a lot of tanks behind this. It is going to be a close fight and is barely going to trade tanks. But the Liberators arrived just in time, and CarpalTunnel will clean that up. A bit of an ill-advised attack again. Frost was a little bit late to siege for that fight. Likewise, a lot of mining is being denied. CarpalTunnel still in this. They are still in this. We have a pretty comparable economy at this point. Pretty comparable worker count. We now have Liberators to support. We do have a Liberator range as well. And the CarpalTunnel is moving out unscouted. Frost misreading this, moves over towards the left-hand side. We could trade a base for a base. Frost is going to turn back around. This planetary is going to fall, but Frost is looking to collapse on this army from behind. May lose the base. Okay, never mind. Frost pivots back around, is heading for a counterattack. Yeah, he's going to stim on forward. Can Frost get a base? It's a lot of Marines. They do have +3 attack. Oh, it's going to be a rough decision, but there we go. We're going for the tank. Oh, tank is going to go down, but we can't quite commit to the natural. The defensive position is just a little bit too strong. Going to be denying the 3rd. Meanwhile, at the same time, CarpalTunnel is pushing in, looking for a kill on the 3rd base of Frost as well. Frost is turning back around. Frost in a really dire position. Here we go, Marines are coming on in. The tank's getting held unsieged once again. The tank count gets reset. Frost cleans up that army. CarpalTunnel overextending a little bit. Because of that, this is still pretty close. And CarpalTunnel does have a base lead, does have an economic lead. But Frost is looking for a fight, looking for a way in. Hoping to catch these tanks on siege once again, but that's a lot of tanks. Uh-oh. It's a lot of tanks, Papi, and here we go. Frost pushing through the center, avoiding the tanks entirely, going through into the natural. He's going to be able to get one of those tanks here. It does overextend, but now we cannot break the natural or the third. Frost could try to head towards this planetary, but don't know if we really have enough firepower to break it. No, oh my god, we're dropping on top of the tanks! Up! Frost identifying how vulnerable these tanks are. But the Marines do come in and they're able to support them. They're able to keep them alive. Oh, tanks will fall, but that was a lot of Marines. That was a lot of Marines from Frost to pick up those two tanks. We're crazy. Oh my god. Trying to dive on top of more of those tanks. Does back off. Reinforcements are on the way. Oh, these Liberators are putting in a lot of work. 1, 2 tanks going down. Can we get 3? Up, up. We'll get 3 tanks. Meanwhile, Frost collapses on the third base. Tank goes down. Second tank will go down as well. CarpalTunnel just not having the best position here is going to lose the CC. And the Vikings, the missed rally. The missed rally, Bobby. Vikings rallied into their deaths. Base on left-hand side has been spotted. Frost has to make a decision. Do we go for the fringe bases or do we try to break into the natural? Oh my god. Doom drop? We're doom dropping into the main. Oh, okay, thank god. We don't commit. That was crazy. We do think better of it. Gonna back off, rotate over, and we can go for some secure damage here at these fringe bases. CarpalTunnel can't quite... There's no way he can defend this. Tanks are within range. Planetary taking a lot of hits. CarpalTunnel trying to come in from behind. But I don't think this is the fight that our blue Terran player can take. SCVs get cleaned up. Frost's going to be picking up her main base, going for that 5th. The armies are going to be engaging. Frost getting caught unsieged. But the Marines are going down. Frost pushing up the ramp, and it looks like this is just too much. The army falls. CarpalTunnel doesn't have enough. No GG. GG, well played, and Frost will take the game. We'll take down CarpalTunnel. GG, well played. Oh. But that was pretty intense. That was very back and forth. There were definitely good moments for both players. You know, I got to praise CarpalTunnel as well. There were definitely moments where I thought Frost was dead, especially when the initial Liberators arrived. But there was that one fight. There was one fight that really shifted things in favor, or equalized, I should say. Really did equalize and stabilize the game. Was that fight at the third base of Frost. The first big fight at the third. After the fourth was denied, when all the Vikings went down, the Liberators as well, when that air control that the Blue Terran once had was just given away due to some miscontrol, I would say. Like, we saw a move command, we saw a big kind of a blunder there. And from that moment, things were very neck and neck, very close. GG, well played. GG, well played. Frost will take that game. Well done. I also is that 5 back and sneeze? Good. Okay, we're good. What I will say is that I do appreciate that this was a much more straight up and standard game. We were poking fun at the fact that whenever Frost redeems a replay cast, it's always just a clown fiesta, one way or another. You know, we've casted Mass Lurker play, we've seen 50-minute games, and we've seen it all go the distance. And Frost is like, okay, I'll redeem a regular game, a normal game. It's like, oh, let's go. And really impressive stuff. GG, well played. Well done. With that, that's our first replay cast in the books, and we have another ahead of us as well. Again, it looks like replays have been broken because of the patch from a couple of days ago, unfortunately. But regardless, do have another game ahead of us from another lovely viewer in the chat. Oh, this time though, it's not going to be a mirror matchup, it's going to be a ZVT. We have to download the patch. God damn.